Hello and welcome back to Witches of the Moon. Please excuse my appearance. I'm extremely tired. I had a headache most of today. I was waiting for it to kind of subside enough that I could make this video and maintain a train of thought. And so here I am. I'm Eva Maria, usually your Monday hostess, but this video is obviously going to be late again. That said, our weekly topic this time around is going to be using tarot with magic. I'm going to speak on at least 3 things you could do with tarot, one of them being rather obvious. But you know, I'm gonna share some thoughts with you here, and then I'm gonna leave some room for the other hosts to kind of come in and share other things with you. So, the first thing I suggest, before even spell work or any kind of magical work comes into play, even before, let's say you're someone who's never read tarot before, we're just going to assume that, even before learning how to read tarot comes into play, the first thing I suggest, and one of the more, I think, important things that I suggest doing is forming a bond with your deck. And the reason why I suggest forming a bond with your deck is that if you are bonded with your deck, I feel you will probably have greater results in the work that you do. So, if you're buying a deck for yourself, I suggest getting a deck that you feel inspired by, you feel drawn to, a deck that you love the artwork on, the kind of deck that you will feel very good about using, you will be very into working with. If you're gifted a deck, on the other hand, as long as you don't have a strong aversion to the artwork or anything, that's fine too. You know, you can absolutely come to love a deck that's just kind of like, okay, you know. The important thing is to get to know your deck, to spend time with your deck. I know that sounds funny, spending time with your deck. But really, one of the things that I suggest doing, because it creates an energetic bond, when you get or buy a new deck, I suggest keeping it with you as much as possible. In your purse or your pocket, put it under your pillow when you sleep at night. If you leave the house, you know, as I said, it can be in your purse or your pocket or whatever. Take it with you on your ventures. Even if you don't use it wherever you're going, just have it with you so that its energies and the energies of your subtle bodies can kind of commingle, you know, intermingle with one another. It can sort of be around you, and you can be around it. Also, I recommend flipping through the deck, really looking at the artwork on each card whenever you get the chance to do this, not just once, but more than once. I suggest meditating on the cards, you know, one by one. You could do this however you want in terms of how you set up your, you know, your meditation practice, if you're going to be doing this, to really sort of get acquainted with the symbolism and associations of cards and all that sort of thing. You could either go through the deck, you know, in order of how the deck is numbered, or you could just kind of shuffle the deck and pick one out at random and then choose to meditate on that one. And when you've meditated with that one, you know, maybe face it the other way, and then you know, okay, I've already worked with that one. And then when you take your deck out again to do some meditation with the cards, you know, like the ones that are facing the other way, let's say, are the ones that you've meditated with already. And you can either set up a regular meditation practice to do this, to get to know your cards, or you can kind of like just do it whenever you happen to feel resonates with you. You know, however, you could just do it kind of whenever you get the chance, because some of us are very busy, you know. But even if, let's say, you don't meditate on the cards per se, if that's not your cup of tea, or you don't, let's say you really don't have time to go through an entire deck. I mean, maybe you're just, for whatever reason, it's not something you see yourself doing. You could also, whenever you get time, you can flip through your deck, as I said before, but you can take time with various cards, each time, to really explore what the imagery on the cards evoke in you in terms of thoughts and feelings, intuitive senses, what sense the cards give you. That's something good to do, because again, it acquaints you with the cards. And my advice too, if you're going to be exploring how the cards in the deck, what they evoke in you, don't peek at the book before you do this. Let yourself free associate, connect freely without any kind of preconceived notions in your mind. I would suggest that definitely, so that you don't feel pressured by, let's say, another person's interpretation, or you won't be sort of held back from letting your intuition and your feelings and thoughts really kind of get going, in regard to what the card really says to you. So doing these things before, let's say if you haven't ever read tarot, I suggest doing these things before you ever even try learning to read with the deck. I suggest it's a very good thing to do. Even if you know how to read tarot, though, if you've done that before, if it's a new deck, one that you've not had before, you just acquired it, I do suggest doing this too, because even though a lot of the decks, for example, are based on, the classic Rider-Waite sort of imagery, symbolism, etc., decks vary, in their imagery, and you may get different impressions when when the different symbols, when the different archetypes are illustrated by different creators, different deck creators. So bonding with your deck, I think, is foundational, not just in reading with the deck, but also in doing magical work with the deck. The more you know your deck, the more you feel acquainted with it, the more you've spent time with it, the more familiar with it you become. I think that you will have a lot more potential to do what you want to do with it a lot more successfully, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, with that aside, I'm going to mention 3 things you could do in relation to magic with tarot. Now, the first thing, obviously, divination before work. This is something I highly suggest, whenever possible. As long as you're not restricted by, time being an issue. Sometimes you have to kind of act quickly. Sometimes you don't have the freedom to take your time and be objective and plan things out and explore all the aspects of a situation, not just the ones you are aware of, but also the hidden ones that the cards can help to reveal to you when you do a reading, But when you do have the opportunity to divine, in this case with tarot, before doing magical work, I think it is of great benefit, because as I said before, there are many different aspects, facets, etc. to situations. You may have one perspective, one view, but there may be things that you are not aware of, hidden parts of the situation that the cards can bring to your attention. Also, the cards can suggest things to you that didn't occur to you until you did a spread, until you do a spread, I should say. So, doing divination before work, it's good because, yes, you can assess what's going on, you can assess the situation more fully, you can ask yourself, or you can ask the cards, I should say, I'm sorry, you can ask the cards, is work a good idea at this time, given the situation? And if so, What approach should I take? Sometimes the cards may clarify things in a way that you realize that work is not necessary. For example, in cases where you think that someone has done something to you, have they cursed you, or like have they cast a spell on you, or whatever, sometimes the cards will reveal that that didn't happen. Same thing goes for cases of hauntings. I had a client a while back that thought that he was haunted. Like, seriously, all kind of crazy things were going on, and I did the cards. I cast the cards for him. I did a spread, and it turned out that it wasn't a haunting. It was like a tulpa. It was a thought form that he created without realizing it, and it was important that, that we did this reading, because it clarified a lot, and that we were able to kind of work on things. So, though it appeared to be one thing, and that can happen sometimes, the cards revealed that it wasn't what it seemed. So, suffice it to say, divination before work, when possible, is a good idea. This is probably the most obvious way that you can use tarot in relation to spell work, or to any kind of planned magic, ritual, whatever that you have in mind. Now, another thing you can do is using tarot cards as visual focal points to sort of empower your intentions. Just as we can sort of see realities, situations going on in layouts when we divine with the tarot, we can also deliberately illustrate and manifest situations or realities that we want. This is something that's often referred to as tarot spells. And what I'm going to have for you in the description of this video is I'm going to link a video I did on my own channel, in case you haven't seen it. When I reached my 1,000 subscriber milestone, as a gift to my viewers, I did a video where I spoke on tarot spells, how I do them, and how I recommend doing them. So I'm going to have that link in the description of this video for those of you who are interested. And finally, I'm going to talk about one more method of how you might use tarot in relation to magic. This is something you can do particularly in situations where you're on the go, where you don't have your altar right there, and you don't have all your little tools and all your things, but all you kind of have is like yourself and your mind and your emotions and familiarity with your tarot deck. You can evoke the spirits of particular cards, the energies of particular cards, to be with you in times of need. You can, for example, evoke the spirit of the strength card when you need to feel strength. You can visualize in your mind what the card looks like. You can feel what the card feels like. You can really just sort of raise up that energy. Even if you have to use something like an affirmation, such as, for example, I'm just going to throw this one out there, I am the strength card is me. Something like that. Or you can say another card if that is something else that resonates with you. If another card is a card that you might want to work with instead for whatever reason. For example, if you're seeking enlightenment or empowerment in a given situation, you might evoke the spirit of the High Priestess card. Or, if you need to or want to evoke blessings in a specific situation, you might evoke the power of the sun, and these are not the only energies or interpretations or associations these cards have. I'm just throwing these out. These are just like the ones that come readily to mind, like just, you know what I'm saying? The Four of Cups might be evoked for emotional stability, because 4, at least to me, 4 is a very sturdy and stable number. It always makes me think of the 4 sturdy legs that hold up a table, you know, stability. For me, anyway. That might not be the case for you. Whatever you need to do, even if you just have to, let's say, tap into the power of your belief, you know, just really put all your faith in that card as being your guardian and guide. You know, that will work for you too. And I say that will work for you because the tarot is a very old system. Even though there are decks that are very, very new, some of them whimsical, even still, the symbolism, the imagery, the meaning, the power, the myth, you know, the everything behind the cards, they're very, very old. And because the tarot has been so, I guess you could say, archetypal in the minds of so many people over such a long period of time, since it first came around. Everybody who's ever, you know, worked with tarot sort of has fed the thought forms of each card, of, you know, as I said before, you know, the sort of spirits of each card, you know, they kind of have taken on almost like lives of their own, in a sense. I guess that's how I could describe it. Forgive me again, I'm tired. I'm trying to really convey what I'm feeling, but you know, the cards, they have thought forms associated with them. You know, they are empowered and fed by all the people that, you know, have collectively been conscious of them. And also the collective unconscious of all of the people as well who have worked with tarot or who have been aware of tarot. You know, that feeds the cards sort of spirits as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop here because I'm afraid of rambling and kind of like, you know, and I don't want to make this video just me being tired and loopy and all kind of all over the place. So yes, I suggest divination before work. I suggest tarot spells. Check out the video I have for you in the description of this one. And I also suggest, when you need to, particularly when you're on the go, if you don't have any sort of tools or anything with you, you can just use your emotions, your will, your what's the word I'm looking for? Your ability to visualize. You know, you can use things like that. Your power of belief. You know, you can use all these things to evoke the spirit and energy and power of particular cards to be with you, to help you in times of need. So, with that said, I'm going to wish you blessed be and ashe. I hope you all stick around and watch everyone else's videos this week. I hope you all can forgive me. This video may not have been my best, but I'm trying. Anyway, until next week, until our next exchange, you stay awesome, and bye-bye for now.